Great. Can everyone hear me okay in the back, or should I speak louder? Okay, cool. So thank you all for coming to join this panel. We're going to start off with a video. This video was from 1968. This is when the first time virtual reality was actually created by Ivan Sutherland. And the question has it, Adam, why did it take so long?
You wanted it before 1968? Now, just to set context, I'm older than 1968. Computers at this date, you would program with punch cards. So this was pretty cutting edge. Ivan Sutherland was famous for being the first person to use graphical interfaces with Sketchpad and light pens, because they didn't have, Doug Engelbart, who invented the mouse, was doing terminals with a mouse. But the question is, why did it, I imagine what you mean is, why did it take so long? We had this then. Why do we still not have AR everywhere? I think there's a lot of reasons. One, you can see it's tethered. He's literally got cables running to his head. Not the most practical in many situations. The displays you can see are, there's 3D glasses. This is actually augmented reality. You can look through the lens and project these, simple 3D images, line drawings, on what you're seeing. Resolution wasn't very good. But generally, I think there's a lot of problems to solve to get to the point where AR is ready for mass use. We're still not there. It's coming. And we've, the Vision Pro and others are doing amazing things for both AR and VR, but physics, battery life, form factor, application, ecosystem, developer tools, lot to figure out to just completely bring it all together, even though we've known how to project over our world computer graphics for a long time. I see a question. I don't know if you want questions or not.
We'll save the questions for later, but okay. I love the enthusiasm.
Great.
I wanted to set the framing from 1968 and show that demo to where we are today with generative AI. So Will, if you can play that video. Yeah.
We'll talk about something terrifying. I want you to picture you wake up tomorrow in your bed and adjust to your perfect sleep cycle. Your coffee brewed exactly how you like it. Your news curated for your bubble. Your entertainment selected for your mood. And you feel somewhere in the night while you were sleeping, the world will learn to run without you. Your job, your creativity, your replication, your expertise, your perspective cement, your passion project generated and
So that was from an influencer. This is all generative AI by Kingmaker.
Wow. Pretty dystopian.
So this is a two-part question. One, how do we avoid that future? And the second is, what do you think about generative AI and the accomplishments of what the technology can do today?
So first of all, generative AI. I've been a professional in AI. Next year will be 40 years. And I can say that even though I've been in it and around it and working on it, Gen AI is beyond any expectation that I thought I would see in my lifetime, which is a big statement. It is a miracle and is amazing. That said, in the knowing area, it is like the super duper search engine plus. It still falls short in many ways, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about that. I already mentioned, well, it can't even do anything. So there's one way. I think there are other ways. The interface is terrible, right? Chat is not the right interface to do most things. And putting a little carousel in a chat doesn't help much, right? So it needs to improve. So I think Gen AI is amazing. There are scary moments about it. Some of this does ring true. And it's not Gen AI's fault necessarily. The streams of personalized content coming at us, I think, is really contributing to the divisiveness in this country. And I just went on a trip where I went into America, Middle America, and places I've never been, because online hate and divisiveness is amplified. But I go, if I meet people face to face and say, hi, who are you? Tell me what you do. We're Americans, we're people. We can connect and have a discussion, even though it seems impossible online. Content, your creativity replicated, that's a scary line, and there's some real issues. I'm sure a lot of you work in content and creation. There are issues that we can get into about that. So AI is a miracle. I think it has the potential to augment humans' ability to solve problems more than any technology we've ever created. We have some major problems to solve, but it is creating and being used in ways that are creating new problems as well. Not to say the least of the amount of energy it takes.
That's fantastic. So you're probably one of the few that have been so successful for decades as a serial entrepreneur, especially in AI. You sold the company Steve Jobs directly. That's a really interesting story. Viv Labs to Samsung. This question came from a DM. Is your next goal to sell the AI god to Elon?
So thank you, whoever asked. My goal is not to sell companies. And I know a lot of people start out, I'm going to do a startup and I'm going to exit and sell. And my goal is find a problem that you believe in or are curious about, find the right time to try to take it to market, innovate. I believe in the creativity of entrepreneurs more than anything else. It's a truth. But what do big companies like Apple or Samsung do? They can distribute your innovation. So for me, when we did Siri, people said, oh, you shouldn't have sold to Apple. What if you had stayed independent? I'm like, yeah, but Apple could literally push a button and roll it out to 2 billion devices. It would take me a long time to build the devices, market them, sell them so that I can run my software innovation on it, right? So I've always used, it's not like I'm starting something so I can sell. It's like if I have a breakthrough that needs distribution, it's lower risk to impact, which is the focus, saying, well, I'll sell it, and they can help market it and roll it out in a way that I can't as a startup. But startups do things that big companies can't, which is innovate deeply. And people say, well, why can't big companies innovate? They can, but what's incredible about a startup is, number one, you have to be ambitious. You cannot just do a slight incrementally better thing. Number two, you have a limited amount of time. You raise some money. If you do not produce value by the day, you can count the number of days before you run out of money, right? It's called runway. If you do not create value in that time, you die. And if you do, you can raise another round of money or you keep going. So that, for me, that combination of ambition meets desperation, if you will, is how innovation happens. And big companies don't have quite the same of those combinations.
That's great. So I think to sum it up, you have to find value in the marketplace. But switching gears, we now are going through this evolution of AI and spatial computing. Some people compare it to the holodeck, where you can actually create virtual worlds, and at WebSpatial, that's what we're allowing people to do. And AR glasses give you superpowers, like the Force. Which do you prefer, the Force or the holodeck, or can they live symbiotically?
I don't see why they're exclusive. I want it all. I believe, for me, if I had to choose, I would probably pick the holodeck. I think Force for me, most of it is just like moving things around, large spaceships or whatever. I don't need to do that. We have cranes for that. But virtual reality, and it's a storytelling medium. If you could literally control every pixel of my retina, I think wonderful things could be done. Education, I think we could connect more deeply with other people. Simulation, I just feel like, learning and achievement could be, and connection are things that are way more important to me than moving large objects with my mind.
That's cool. For me, I think if I was to choose between the two, I think I do want it all, but I think superpowers. I think we're now entering a stage where AR can improve your sight or see things that you could never see before, definitely give you better context of the world around you. But now we're entering the stage of MCP with a new protocol where AI agents can now talk to each other. And websites will also be different. That's something I'm really proud of with WebSpatial. Like, there's going to be a future where websites have agents themselves, and they have their own self-being to talk to each other. What do you think about MCP protocol and the future of AI, and how that relates to spatial?
Grumpy, old, I covered all of that before. Yes, we absolutely need protocols and architectures and platforms to allow communication among agents. I started out that way. My work in the 90s, multi-agent systems was a big thing. When I look at MCP and A2A and all these new protocols come out, in my mind, they're still so simplistic. They're like TCP, they're beginning. They're scratching the surface. And if you want to know where they should go, if people are interested in working in this area, I'm telling you, go look at the multi-agent architectures of the 90s, because there's a lot of rich thought put in how the communicating agents should find each other and dialogue with each other and interact, etc. So I think there's treasure troves in history that should be re-archived and looked. I still, being grumpy, feel there's a lot of work on the agents themselves. Like yes, it's fine to start to connect agents together, but we need to make these agents better and smarter and just one. I'll give you an example. Like, GPT is so powerful. You can ask any question about any domain and it'll give you a pretty great sounding answer. Customer support for a website, that should be trivial, right? That's not the whole every domain. It's like my website. Why isn't there a single great example in industry that I know of anywhere of a LLM-powered customer support application? OpenAI does not have an LLM-powered support application. There's still work to be done on the agents themselves. I'm happy to have people start to connect them, but for me, people often say, oh, MCP's here, that'll solve all problems. I'm like, it's like just dipping a toe, not diving in yet. So a lot of work to be done there.
That's a great answer. I think I'm on the hype train that it can solve a lot of problems, but I think you put a lot of context in terms of the reality.
It's important. It's important, but still early.
That's cool. So, people always say that XR technologies, whether AR glasses, VR glasses, wearables for hearables, AI will be the brain. And people say, well, when that happens, XR will be the last computing paradigm. Do you agree with that statement?
I don't want to say AI will be the brain. I want to say our brain will be the brain. And XR, AR, I see that as a way of like hacking into our brain. And I think that's a good thing, to give us extra powers, extra superpowers. But our brain, I hope, is still in control, is still the thing. So what do I want? XR, AR gives us being able to see anything I want. We already have cochlear implants as an example of hacking into literally our brain to have software modulated hearing for people who've lost they're deaf. You can do that. That's great. Superpower. Give them hearing that they have lost. Someday we'll have maybe memory, like literally brain implants that I can think and retrieve, and then I want to project using AR. But that should be a tool around enhancing my brain. I hope AI is not the brain. If so, we've gone too far, my opinion. I hope our brain is the brain.
That's awesome, because I think that leads to a dystopian universe with the video that I shown previously. We all don't want that. You know, Apple gave us gestures for Apple Vision Pro that's pretty accurate. OpenAI had given us ChatGPT. What do you think startups should give us for the future of this new futuristic paradigm?
So that's a great question. Here's the process that I use. I talk about trends and triggers. So look forward into the world at something that's not quite here. XR and AR, they're starting here, but it's not mainstream yet, right? There are many things. Crypto, it's kind of here, but it's not mainstream yet fully, or whatever. Take any topic you're interested in. Do research and say, do you think it'll get there? And if so, what's the trigger point that you know it's going to happen? There's going to be a tipping point. So with Siri, the iPhone, when the iPhone came out, I knew it was time to do Siri. I had been working since '93 on Siri. I did not start the company until 2007 when the iPhone came out. It was the trigger moment. When Change.org's first social network for social activism, 2006. What happened in 2006? MySpace became the #1 trafficked website in the US. I'm like, oh, social network. I had predicted in 2004 social networking would go mainstream. It didn't happen until MySpace. And then I said, now is the time to start building social network for social activism.
So every startup chases product market fit, but this is a new world, a brave new world, an AI world. Is there such thing as a founder AI fit?
So I guess I've been grumpy for a long time. So when we were at Siri, we went up and down Sand Hill Road, and we talked to every famous venture capitalist that you know and have heard of. And pretty much everyone said, oh, you've got a really cool demo. Just slap it up, see what people say to it, and they'll teach you what they want. So you don't know what the product is, they'll teach you. And I won't name names publicly, but I'm like, that's not my vision, for good or for bad. And so I say there's only one time to make a first impression. I like to do these big paradigm-changing things. There wasn't anything like Siri in 2007. I wanted to be able to stand up and say, here is an experience that is great, is really great. And Steve Jobs actually had a very similar approach. He didn't do user testing. He didn't look at what other competitors were doing. He goes, users don't know what they want. So, you know, I don't recommend it for everything. Change.org, we put up version 1, version 2, version 3. We iterated for 4 or 5 years until we found product market fit. But sometimes, especially for big technology, I think when you have a vision, I wanted to work in stealth mode to get the vision that I was dreaming of before I showed anyone. So maybe that is a what did you call it? Founder fit. By the way, Siri means secret in Swahili. I almost always start all of my startups in stealth mode. I don't want to announce it or mention it. In fact, if no one knows it even exists, they're not going, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Because they don't know it exists. So when we had sold Siri, or when we had launched Siri, you know, we got a call from Steve Jobs 2 weeks later. You know, that was the first time anyone had seen it or really heard it and could download. Like, I want to come out of nowhere with something great that shows my vision. So that can be done.
That's really cool. Can you give us some insights, because you shared some personal stories in the past dealing with Steve Jobs?
Yeah. So he called out of the blue. We asked that first question you might ask, how'd you get this number? Because he's calling our phone. He says, hey, why don't you come over to my house tomorrow? We're like, how'd you get this number? Because we had no website, no sign on the door. There wasn't a phone number. Seemed like he was omniscient. We went over to his house, and I learned everything I needed to about Steve Jobs in that first meeting. The first thing was he was desperate to win. He didn't care about all the things he had worked on in the past. I'm like, man, he's a billionaire. He's reinvented music and mobile and, you know, movies and everything. You'd think he could be chill. Nothing chill about Steve Jobs. Nothing. He didn't care about that. He wanted desperately to win. The second and defining thing about Steve, that very first day we got into our first argument, like battle. And he said, Adam, and he was trying to be seductive and he wanted to buy our company. Adam, should Apple buy, and he named a company which I won't share. I thought about it and said, no, I don't think so. He's like, what? Why? And we started going at it. And at the end, he said, interesting, I'll think about it. And what was key about Steve was that he was always open to hearing a different point of view. He was not a yes man who thought he was the smartest guy in the room. He was looking for other opinions. Now, if you couldn't back it up with data and logic, he would knock you aside. Don't waste my time, I've got to win. But if you could defend your approach, that was valuable to him. And so many times, you know, with Siri and other things, I look back, I go, you know what? He was right. Sometimes I look back and say, you know what? I think still is a better way. But every time he would say, Adam, I've heard you. I've thought about it. We're not going to do it your way, but here's why. I'm like, great. I've had my say. He really deeply considered it, and he gets to choose. So for me, those are my best takeaways. Forget the past. His fire to do great things was what drove him, and his openness to other opinions and his process for hearing it, making decisions, I thought was fantastic.
That's amazing. I think that's a great segue to show this magic trick that Adam had specifically prepared for you guys. So give it up another round of applause.
All right, so I'm going to show you a process of how I would create a new idea for a startup. And because David, you're in spatial, I'll pick that as my topic. So what you do, as I had mentioned, is you pick a trend there's elements, but it's not quite there yet. And let's pick like spatial computing, like the metaverse. Now, metaverse, there are great products that work on this, but it's not fully here yet. The reason I know is because we're here, we're not there. And one of the reasons is that in order to build a metaverse, we have to populate it with stuff, desks and tables and buildings and cities. That's going to take a lot of time. So that's the missing component that would unlock the metaverse. If we could take the real world, import it into the metaverse easily, quickly, then it would scale. And then we wouldn't have to be here. We could all go live there. Great. So what I'm going to do is take out one of these. This is going to represent a slice of reality. I don't know if people can see it. Yep. King of clubs. You should be able to see it here, roughly. And now I'm going to show you my next secret prototype. I'm a big fan of when you're starting a new company, build a prototype to show the world what it will be like. And here it is. It's top secret. Ooh. It says so right there. So I'm going to, for the first time, reveal my top secret prototype of the metaverse. Here we have 4 metaverse cards. Now you might ask, what is a metaverse card? Well, since the metaverse isn't here yet, they're all blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one of these metaverse cards. And you can see, I'll show the camera one more time. Blank. 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 Now we're going to try to take this blank metaverse and imprint from the real world. So let me show you how it works, investors. I just take the card like this and import, and just like that, we've printed the metaverse. Now, I'm sure you guys are like my investors. They'll be like, yeah, that's cool, but can it scale? They always ask that. You've done one card, but could you do more than one card? I'm like, I don't know. Let's try it. I'm going to take 2 cards. The metaverse is being populated by reality. Now, we've got a blank and 2. I've never tried it with so many cards. This may send the system into overload, but just for you, investors, I'm going to try. And just like that, we can print the metaverse. Now, I know in this day and age, conservation and reuse is really important. You investors are probably, you just destroyed 3 perfectly good metaverse cards. Well, I'm here to tell you, investors, my prototype is reusable. What do I mean? So I can print cards like that, but watch this. If I just touch them here, instantly, they reprint. And what's cool is at any time, you can touch the card here, it prints, but then if you touch the card here, it resets. And so if you're too much in this, all you need to do is you touch, touch, and touch.
Amazing.
And just like that, you're back, ready to print a new slice of reality. All right, so there's an example. Some of the lessons that I'd like you to take away from this. One, when you have an idea, an incredibly powerful idea, build a prototype to show it off, right? To show what's different, what's great about it. Find a topic that's kind of intriguing but not here yet, and figure out what's missing. What is the thing that would, if I could solve this, it would enable the whole paradigm? And then go and do something, game-changing or life-changing for, I always say, 1 billion people. The only thing that's changed, I made it into my 40s without ever starting a single company. And at that time, I was like, what can one person do? Now, of course, we can change the world. We can do for 1 billion people. Change.org, 500 million people and growing fast. Siri, 2 billion devices. Bixby and Viv Labs, 500 million devices. So it can be done. It's a good goal. So, all right, back to the conversation.
Awesome. Well, actually, you want to do that? We have the card set up. Do you want to, like, Siri is now 30 years old, and I heard you wanted to bring out Siri.
You want one more?
Yeah, you guys want one more?
Yeah! All right, let me try. All right, so I mentioned Siri is 30 years old, and but I didn't start the company until I saw the iPhone. We started talking to those VCs. And as such, you always need to build a prototype. Now, before I show you the first version of Siri, the 30-year-old version, I call it V1, I want everyone to see, hopefully you can see on the camera, all the cards are different, and I'm mixing the cards. So mixed, shuffled, all different. Good? I need some help. You want to help, David? So just come. We've shuffled the deck. Just touch and just pull out any one card you like. Here? Okay, good. We'll actually take 2. Now, cool. Now, at the time, if you set context, this was 2007 we were going to VCs. Google was dominant. And the iPhone had just come out. All right, everyone had apps, that shiny new phone. So why would anyone need this new way to access information, Siri? Well, I said, investors. Siri is going to be better than anything that exists in 3 ways. When you talk to Google, you type something into the search engine, it just gives you links. Number 1, I want Siri to answer the question. Number 2, with a search engine, you can't really refine conversation. I want to be able to say, well, how about tomorrow? What about the next day? And number 3, I want to be able to handle multiple tasks at the same time, like dinner and a movie. Super hard to do with a search engine or even with apps. You choose one dinner and now it's, oh, I can't see that movie, or it's too, it's hard to do this. So I built Siri. And let me show you V1, the first version of Siri. Here it is. Doesn't look like much, just like a shuffle deck of cards. Now, if you look closely, you can see on the back, there's a little button right here. All you need to do is go like this. Doo-doo. No, I'm just messing with you. We did not implement speech recognition in the first version of Siri 30 years ago, V1. But what we did do is called natural language understanding. Now, David, you chose a card. We took 2 cards. Your card could be red or black. You don't know what the card is. I don't even know what the card is. Let's ask V1. V1, what color is David's card? Oh, I have to type. I keep forgetting. What you do is you type C-O-L-O-R, color. Siri says the card he chose, V1 says the card he chose is red. Maybe. Shuffle deck. Taking a lot of math, that's called a 50-50 chance. What would be harder and more interesting is if I could ask what number his card might be. It could be a 6 or a 2 or a king. V1, what's the number? N-U-M-B-E-R, number. V1 says he chose an ace. A red ace. Now, if it's red, it could be diamonds or it could be hearts. Is it hearts? H-E-A-R-T-S. V1 says no. Chose diamonds. Now, every card in the deck has exactly one match. So if I ask for the M-A-T-C-H, now this is not artificial intelligence. But if it were, out of the shuffle deck that you chose any card, V1 says you chose the red ace of diamonds, so the match, M-A-T-C-H, would be the other red ace, the red ace of hearts. Which means, David, you chose the ace of diamonds out of the shuffle deck. Now, investors, I think even ChatGPT would be impressed with this, right? I'm here, I'm getting not just links, I'm getting answers to questions. I can follow up, like is it red or is it diamonds? But I can also said I would solve multiple tasks at the same time, like dinner and a movie. Well, you chose 2 cards out of that deck. Let's go for the second card at the same time. This was the color pile. V1, what color is the second card? At the same time. Black. This is the number pile. Shuffle deck. What number? A black queen. If it's black, it could be clubs, it could be spades. V1 says it's spades. And in every card, there's exactly one match. So if your card, David, is the black queen of spades, the match should be the other black queen, the black queen of clubs. And that means you chose the black
Amazing.
queen of spades. So hopefully this is not only a cool magic trick, but it's a real world lesson for every entrepreneur here. When you build, have an idea, build a prototype to show the world, even if it's janky, show the world what it would be like if your thing existed. And you need to be very clear about the differentiation. Why is it better than anything that exists today? Here are 3 reasons, right? This is kind of a story, a magical story, but it's based on a true thing. When we went and raised money for Siri from VCs, we did this for real, not with cards, but with real software. But we showed why this was better than anything in the world that existed, even though it was pre-raise, right? So you guys can think about how to bring in that test of value and differentiation into everything you do. Thank you.
That was amazing. So that was awesome, Adam. We're going to save the Q&A questions, but I want to introduce Roya. All of you guys, we have dinner coming as well, but I'm going to introduce Roya. But before doing so, can you get to the QR code, Will? If you guys want to learn more about what we're doing for WebSpatial and how we're bringing magic into the spatial world, especially with AI, I want you guys to all bring out your phone, join our Discord. We have a lot of bounties, hackathons, and other cool events that will be coming up very soon. Go to the Events and Hacks channel, and you'll get to learn more information about that. And we'll be sticking around. We'll be giving some cool VR demos. But I want to give the floor to Roya, and we'll save those questions for Adam later. Thank you. We're good. Do you want the microphone?
Okay. So let's see what WebSpatial can do and to help you turn your website or PWA apps spatialized. First of all, the WebSpatial provides split the web page and free your UI. Traditionally, like what it shows here, before the SDK integrated, the web page are flat, clouded, and boxed in by heavy frames. But with WebSpatial, we can break the page apart. Every part from your interface, whether it's chart or video player, can become a free-floating panel and hovers in your spatialized environment. And also the second power that WebSpatial provides is the elevator, the HTML and the element, and unlock the depth dimension. So HTML elements have always lived in 2 dimensions, X and Y, but WebSpatial can add Z. So with WebSpatial, you can move any element of the page, rotate it, scale it, bend it, and position it in 3D space, just like the video shows. And thirdly, this is an in-house first-party app we made using WebSpatial. The UI is exactly the same as a native Swift UI. So WebSpatial lets you define those containers directly in code. And WebSpatial is a cross-platform. We first support AVP, and then we'll support Android XR. And lastly, so what if your web app is just laid but truly 3D? So WebSpatial lets you embed actual volumetric content right next to your regular HTML. It's just like the picture shows, you can put your 3D content in a website, and it's all cross-platform, and you don't need to edit or change any of your 2D HTML web, and then it cross-platform and very easy to start. Here is actually an example that we're working with our very early adopter, Fluent. Fluent is one of the WebSpatial early adopter and a remarkable team pushing the boundary of spatial computing. So as you can see, like the Fluent team just use one afternoon, and they make their streaming website into specialized. So it's truly impressive how efficient Fluent can leverage WebSpatial to make their web into a 3D space. And also here is another example from Curie. So Curie is e-commerce, and they made up immersive shopping experience for the consumer. They also only spending one afternoon, and they make these cool demos using WebSpatial. There is another in-house demo we made with WebSpatial where you bring the shopping experience to the immersive world. So if you think it's a very cool project, feel free to join our community. Yeah. Thanks.
That was great. Give a warm applause to Roy, everyone. Fantastic. Well, why don't we start with Q&A. Roya, do you want to answer some Q&A first before we get into Adams?
Yeah, if any questions.
Any questions regarding WebSpatial? Adam.
So you kind of actually implemented my magic trick. You're sort of importing at least the real virtual world HTML right into the 3D metaverse and populating it. I like it. Nice work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
I actually have two questions. The first one, I think you partially already answered in the talk about watching the trends and the triggers. So when you said you started working on Siri a long time ago, but only started companies with it after you saw the trigger, does that mean a lot of your ideas are so early that you have to wait a long time for you to be actually doing that? And what is do you have any ideas that are still too early like that? Or some are just they just never really took off? What is the ratio for something like that? That's my first question.
So definitely I have, in 2004, it was the 10th anniversary of the web. I made 10 predictions for the next 10 years of the web. And then around 2014, I scored myself on how did I do. Some of them were really good. I said social networking is going to go mainstream. Crazy. I was not sure about that one. Well, that one I give myself an A+. Some of and in fact, 3 of the predictions were all incredibly strong, and they all ended up leading directly to companies. Change.org, Siri, and Sentient were all direct predictions that I had made. Some of the predictions I made just didn't happen yet. Ones I thought that I was pretty confident in, and I still look at it and go, man, I still think this should happen, just hasn't yet. So the trends, the predictions that I have about the future, many of them have come true, some of them I'm still waiting. Some I'm still confident will happen. I just haven't seen the trigger moment. So what is the importance of the trigger? It's when you see where you get that confirming moment that you know what the world will be in 2 years. When the iPhone came out, I know you're all too young to remember, many people thought the iPhone would fail. They'll go, only a telecommunications company can make something as important as a phone, as complicated as a phone. Apple makes this little iPod music player. I saw it and go, I've predicted it. It's going to be huge. I know this will happen. 2 years from now, all the telcos, handset manufacturers, like Motorola with the Razr, I go, everyone is toast. Apple has flipped the game. They will be desperate to compete with Apple. They don't know it yet. I know it. I know it. And so I built Siri because I said, what's wrong with the iPhone? Well, it used 3G. It took about a minute if you clicked on a link, 1 round trip. I go, how much does it take to buy something? Maybe 10 clicks? That's 10 minutes. No one's going to do that. What if you could just say, without typing on a small screen, get me 2 tickets to the Warriors game tonight, 1 round trip, better. That's what every competitor will need to beat the iPhone, to compete with the iPhone. So we built Siri because the trigger convinced me I know what the world will be like. I then looked for what's missing, what's needed, just like in my little magic demo. Oh, we need a one-click, no typing solution to buy things. And I built it. And then the irony is Steve Jobs saw it before all the competitors. He jumped right on it. So that's how I use trends and triggers. Yes, I have predictions that have not come true yet. I don't admit failure easily. I have things I'm still confident about that I just don't think it's the right time. I haven't seen the trigger to know this is the time, so I wait. I'm very patient. Thank you for the question.
Do you have a pre-select list of triggers that you're looking for, or you don't really know what it looks like, but you will know it when you see it?
That's a great question. I'd say I know it when I see it, because I couldn't have predicted MySpace exactly. But when I saw a social network that was the #1 trafficked website in the US, I'm like, oh, okay, everyone is getting into the social network thing. Here they come, all of them. And 2007, not 2006 was WebSpace. 2007 is when Facebook started to take off, and others. So yeah, I don't have a precise definition, but they're pretty close. Social networking take off. A social network becomes the #1 trafficked US website. Trigger. It is time. I predicted that a new interface paradigm would emerge to access all the web information in the cloud. That was the apps. Apps in the iPhone was a new interface. I mean, you could still get to everything through web. I'm like, that's what I predicted, a new interface emerging. There it is. And so I didn't know the iPhone exactly, but I had enough to know, yeah, this is just what this fits what I was expecting. It's time.
That was great. I think we had this gentleman here had another question. Raise his hand first.
Yeah. Should I speak from here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much. Super interesting. My name's Dave. I grew up in the Bay Area, but I run impact accelerators in developing countries and just got back. And I feel like there is a lot of talk and discussion in some circles about how there are likely going to be multiple forms of collapse due to irresponsible deployment of AI. And yet there's a lot of just trucking along in the same direction, just thinking how can we maximize profits as quickly as possible, while ignoring a lot of the real harms that are likely coming our way. And then not nearly enough energy mobilizing this creativity and the innovation and the entrepreneurship and so much amazing stuff we can do to reduce those challenges, mitigate those challenges, and then do all of the amazing stuff that we can do with AI. So I'm curious about your predictions. How do you foresee some of this turning out? And if you agree that there are a lot of these challenges from AI, how can we build so much more momentum on the positive side than on the extraction and exploitation and potentially damaging side?
Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I think it's going to be us, right? People. It's always about people who rise up and form groups and collect with similar interests that say, we're going to do something about it. So that's where the solutions are going to come from. I do think there can be technical and startup and open source and other solutions that bring about it. There are serious challenges, but a lot of it goes to where the buyers' behavior are, consumers, right? So, for instance, social media, we know it's A, addictive, B, dividing our country. It has nothing to do with the Gen AI stuff exactly, but as long as consumers keep choosing to use it, we end up having a society that's more divided and more vitriolic and amplifying the hate and the division. So, we need to get people to say, I don't want that future, and I'm going to stop, I'm going to delete the Facebook app, and I'm going to choose, I'm using Particle, I recommend it as a better media source, media reader, and it's user choice, consumer choice ultimately, because corporations, as long as they can sell you something, if you give them your money, they're going to keep selling it to you. So I don't know, I think we need voices, raise voices about, and protests about what are the problems. We need to reject solutions that are not heading in the right way as consumers. And provide new alternate realities, like Particle as an example, is a different way to get streaming, and hopefully we can convince people to move to other better things. Thank you.
That was great. I think this gentleman was first.
Thank you so much. It was a very enlightening talk. So I actually have a couple questions. The first one is, so you mentioned you sold it to Apple because they had distribution and they could put it in the hands of billions. I think in this day, it's very easy to build. It doesn't take as much time and effort and money as it used to take like 5 years ago. I think the major issue is building the right thing, the right product, building the right way so that it can grow organically, and also distribution. So what is your answer to distribution today? Does it differ from back when we sold to Apple because of all the technology that we have today? In order to have the same type of impact, would you still do the same thing? And my second question is, so you mentioned that there is no tool out there that knows and does seamlessly. So how hard do you think this is to build? Have you tried perhaps a solution, and what type of problem do you think this is? Like, why is Apple have not solved this problem yet, for example? And my last question is
I'm not going to remember all these questions. So let me answer the first one first. Distribution, yes, I would still take this path. It's harder. I don't know if you've tried, like when Siri came out, there used to be magazines about which the best apps were to download. Like people wanted to try this new shiny app. When's the last time any of you said, oh, I wonder what the latest, greatest apps are this week? Anybody? Darn hard. Like changing, but no one wants that, right? So it's even harder to get distribution, to break habits. Breaking habits is difficult. It takes massive marketing dollars, ease of use, you have to just lower every friction point, and I just think big companies, for me, are still ever more so the path to help distribution. I don't, maybe I'm old school, I'm not a marketeer, I'm a tech guy. I don't know how to get 1 billion users to listen to what I do and care and change their habits. I rely on some, big tech conference and $100 million marketing campaign to help get the word out and to put it right on the phones people already have. So that's the first one. What was the second question? See, I'm old, I can't remember these things. Oh, the second is why is knowing and doing hard, and why hasn't anyone done it yet? It's hard. Everything about knowing is hard. Like I made reference, I still don't see a great customer support app. How hard could that be? I don't see one. Doing is super hard. And not just technically, you need the right ecosystem. You need partners and APIs and branding. Like, you need to get the whole world to buy into something. That's hard. Forget the technical problems, that's hard. So, and then to do it all together, even if you solve one of these problems in a breakthrough way. I think we did it with Siri for the time. GPT and others have done it for the time, part of it. That doesn't solve, like, it's hard to now do the other side. No, you can do knowing, you can do doing. To do both takes committed determination to get the right balance. Everyone's just still working on one side or the other. I hope anyone can do it, but maybe to the benefit of this room, I believe true hard innovation comes from startups. And maybe someone here will say, yeah, I want to do the right platform and architecture that can solve all problems related to knowing and doing and how it fits. Yes. And then go take it to Apple, or they need help. If you come and say, we've solved it, they're not going to say, well, we'll build it in 5 years. Like, they'll say, yeah, how much? How much? So I don't know. I think innovation, real innovation happens in startups. I think you need vision. I don't think they have the complete vision about what to build and what to do. They don't see it as clearly as I articulate this one point. So it's hard. A lot of it's hard. And go do it for the big companies.
And on that point, my last question. So the vision is one, so knowing what to do and doing that, being the first to market, for example, with Change.org and with Siri, being the first one to build that technology is one thing, but what about keeping the lead? For example, Google is very well known to being late to markets, but dominating the markets for whatever technology. So what would be your advice on using the fact that we're the first ones to build this, or to stay lead?
So it's two separate things. First, you have to introduce the paradigm to the world. You have to be courageous. Like, to be the first does not mean you're going to be the winner, but you need a first. And I'm proud to be the first. Maybe Siri is the best assistant these days. I don't know. Maybe not. But it was first. Right, so that matters. To sustain takes a lot of dedication and factors. There was a whole lot of talk when OpenAI came out that Google is toast and Google is so far behind. I'm like, yeah, they might be a couple months behind, but don't sleep on Google. What's required for LLMs? It's data, engineers, scale. Google has all of that in spades. I've actually predicted that when it's all said and done, like from a 10-year perspective, who's going to win? Is it OpenAI? Is it Google? Is it some new Perplexity, some new startup? Don't sleep on Google in my book, because they seem to have many of the right aspects required for the problem. So yeah, I think there are two different things: to be first and to win in the long run. And they don't always go together. In fact, being first is hard in many ways.
Just a quick question. If I heard correctly, you started your first company at 40?
My first, in my 40s, yes. Yeah. My first company in the 40s.
I feel like most people are starting companies basically out of the cradle. So I'd love to hear for some of the late bloomers in the room, what were your ups and downs and some advice for being a little bit later in the game?
I wouldn't, well, I never look back on decisions in my life and say, I wish I had done this differently. I did what I could the way I knew. I sometimes say, man, I wish I had figured out this entrepreneurship thing earlier, because man, it's been so good for me in every dimension. But maybe I couldn't have succeeded at these startups. I never went to business school. You know, none of my co-founders had ever started a company really before. It was all new, but we had experience. And I do think it's a case that you know, there's still time to be the you that you dreamed of for everyone at every age and at every stage. And absolutely, my best years came from, you know, in my 40s and 50s. And so, yeah, I just think anyone can do it. And I wish, that's the one thing I say maybe I would have done differently. Wish I had figured that out a bit earlier, because maybe I could have done more, but maybe I wouldn't have succeeded. Maybe it took the experience, the credentials that I had built up along the way to be in a position to take some of these long ideas and actually do something with them. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Amy. I have an expert voice interview series called Stage 4 Show, and it's inspired by own stage 4 cancer recovery that inspired me not only to become a patient advocate, also a social impact entrepreneur. And when I interview experts, I often notice, you know, each individual gone through some, you know, difficult challenges, both personally and professionally, and how they overcome it really set them apart. So what are some of your both personal and professional challenges you have overcome, you know, out of your 30-year being a serial entrepreneur? And what did you learn from that, and what wisdom or word you can give it to other people?
Sometimes people will say, well, take a failure. Give me an example of a failure. And maybe I'm stubborn. I don't use the word failure. I just haven't succeeded yet. Failure is only when you give up. Otherwise, so Siri is maybe my greatest success. People know Siri, but it's also my greatest failure in that it fell so far short of what I was trying to do that it was frustrating. It was a failure in that regard. Sure, everyone had it, but we only got a piece of the story. It didn't go far enough. So I used that frustration, not failure, frustration, to then go start my next company and say, no, this is what it should have been, right? So I would say frustration is a good thing. Entrepreneurs, maybe, you know, I use the word grumpy a lot today. A lot of people are happy. If you're happy, there's no reason to get off your seat and go change something. If you're grumpy and you're like, man, the world should be different, it should be like this, I'm going to go do something about it. Sometimes that frustration or that grumpiness is what prompts you to get out and do it. So, yeah, I would say I never use failure. Are there challenges? The biggest challenge is just showing up in a determined way every day. Put one foot forward day by day. And it's hard in personal life, you know, relationships, in career. You're on a startup. Some days you're like, this is gonna be awesome. Next day you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is the stupidest idea ever. It is hard to show up and to be persistent and to keep going. And I'm doing it for decades. I had this vision of Siri in '93. I tried. I've built literally 50 Siri systems in the 90s. I probably built 10 more in the 2000s. Like, I launched Siri, it goes worldwide. It was not what I was going for. Started again with Viv Labs. 8 years on that project. 8 years of showing up and trying. You saw, I showed up. I fought the battles. I tried to get something out. We shipped 500 million devices, 1,000 developers using our platform. It's hard to keep stepping forward. So I would say that's the toughest. But it's a privilege. It's a pleasure. Life is not meant to be easy. The best things are showing up, struggling for things you care about. That's what it's about.
We're going to have 2 more questions. This gentleman here, and then.
Hi, hello. My question is, do you think I/O or any other hardware of that sort would be the shift that we're looking for right now?
Interesting. I have no idea what I/O is doing. Here are some thoughts I'm going to give you. You actually asked, are there any ideas that you've had that you just haven't acted upon yet? So I'm going to give you one of them. So one of them was actually a hardware idea. So some of the problems I've seen with AI devices, one is they're trying to replace the phone. Super challenging. Our phones are practically appendages. People came up to me and said, give me your LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm not carrying a phone. They're looking at me like, what? Right? So I don't think you can easily replace the phone, which means you need to add value on top of the phone. Maybe I/O has something. Here's one idea that I had to do so. So in 2012, when I was thinking about what company should I do after leading Apple, I came up with 5 ideas. I always start, by the way, with 5 ideas, and then I do a major and a minor. I start 2 companies at once. It's just my thing. Not necessarily recommended, but ask me why later. One of my ideas was kind of a pendant, a jewelry piece that you would wear. I called it Whisper. And the idea was it would have a throat mic and bone conduction, and it would become a fashion piece and a camera. And so the killer use case was basically, you know, there's this, I saw someone came out with a product recently called Cheat at Everything or something like that. Did you see that? So I kind of wanted that, where I see that person coming up going, Adam! I'm like, oh shoot, who's that? I need a silent way to basically think, sub-vocalize, without moving my lips, to say, who's this person here coming? Have the camera look it up in my contacts or Facebook or whatever and tell me. And then I'm like, George, good to see you. Or if I'm in a meeting, oh, darn, I forgot, you know, what are the tasks I was supposed to have for this meeting? I can sub-vocalize and get it. So I called it Whisper. So it still would, in my view, access the phone and pair with the phone, but it's giving you throat mic and bone conduction, so you get silent in and out. There are people working on brain-machine interfaces, like think control. Well, what's the output? I think it's too far. But I used the throat mics, military-grade throat mics in the 90s. They work pretty well. Bone conduction is great. So maybe that's what I would do if I were I/O. And then it gets the benefit of seeing and recording. And I know I saw someone here with a device that was, you know, I'd love to be able to ask AI to summarize this or query my own life experience. Maybe in spatial. So I think that would be very cool too.
Thank you. There's something in this area I would love to talk to you about.
Thank you.
We got 2 more people for questions, and Adam is going to stick around for maybe 8 minutes, but I'm going to introduce Lawrence in a second.
Thank you, Adam. As you talked about, you want to look for someone who's grumpy. So I'm wondering if you're looking at the next generation of people that will build the next Siri or the next biggest thing. What type of characteristic do you think this person needs to have?
Part of it is not knowing they can't do it. It's an amazing skill to not know you can't do it. I have a friend who literally took every class from an online college in every field. He knows everything. And all that taught him was the reasons why it's not going to work. I was in my 40s. I had never started a company. I'd never went to an entrepreneur. I didn't know what an entrepreneur group looked like. I did everything wrong. I started 3 companies at the same time. Not recommended. And yet it all worked, right? Siri was my day job. Sentient was my night job and weekend job, and Change.org was my side hustle. But so I think not knowing you can't do it, I think just insane. I like people with opinions. I like people who get the timing right. There was a kid, 22 years old, who cold called me while I was driving from LA to the Bay Area. Had nothing to do, so I took an unanswered phone call, which I almost never do, and pitched me on this product idea. And I'm like, man, I want that. I don't see it in the world. It's about 2 years head start. Like, it would probably take every big company 2 to 3 years to build it. They just haven't gotten around to it. Can't miss. I became an advisor for his company. So, I don't know, passion, detail-oriented, thinking about timing and why now is the time, and just kind of not knowing you can't do it. Okay.
So I have a question. So when Bixby came out, I was like one of the early developers who built like the applications, voice AI applications on Bixby. So I love the experience. And nowadays, I spend like a lot of voice AI feature in ChatGPT. But I still feel like there's a lot of things which is missing from ChatGPT when it comes to like custom applications, which Bixby and like Google Assistant tried to solve back in 2018. And nowadays, I see like this thing is like completely missing from all the voice experience interfaces. So, do you think this is like something which other teams are going to focus on, or we just achieve it, or is there some sort of threshold on this thing?
Thank you, first of all, for both for building for Bixby and for that observation. I think there are 3 major things missing in voice AI today. Everyone's in ChatGPT. Again, I've said it's a miracle technology. But number 1, the interface is wrong. It's almost always text chat, which is not the experience you want. It needs to be a mix of graphical interface and language. Bixby had that. You could click, you could talk, you could combine the 2 in a seamless conversation. Number 2, you need the right mix of knowing and doing. I already spoke about that. Why I want to be able to say, make a reservation at that restaurant owned by Abraham Lincoln's nephew. Right? Combined, because people don't think which is knowing and which is doing. Like, I need it all seamless with transactions, credit cards, all of that. Bixby, not so great at knowing. We didn't have LLMs back then, but it had that solution. There was knowing and doing in a seamless architecture, and learning built into it. And number 3, you need the open ecosystem for everything. The whole point of Siri, the whole point was about an open ecosystem. Just like the iPhone came with 10 or 15 great apps, and then the next year they opened up the App Store, it would not be a paradigm if we hadn't opened up that App Store and given a model for every enterprise to be able to build not only a website, but now an app. Siri we started with the same 10 or 15 great apps of Apple, Stocks, Timer, whatever. The whole point was to open up an ecosystem. Where is a scalable ecosystem in any of the voice AI? Don't get me started on GPT plugins, right? So, an operator. So yeah, I think there are if people are interested in solving it for this generation with this technology, I actually think there are amazing lessons to be learned from 2018, Bixby in particular, but some of the others as well. And if that could be modernized and brought today, I think it would be huge. It would be world-changing. So that's my view, but thank you.
We've talked a lot about old Siri, and I've talked to a few people at
I even showed old Siri, the card trick.
It's amazing how capable it was pre-Apple acquisition. And you talked about movies and dinner, and we just implemented today the ability to order on Amazon on Siri. And one of the things is popcorn, so I was wondering if I could allow you to order popcorn on Siri right now.
Popcorn?
Yeah.
Caramel popcorn?
Original.
This is the founder and CEO of JetBuy, by the way. He uses Siri to make ordering instantaneous and instant in a way that most of the others haven't. So I'd be happy to do it afterwards. I've ordered my fair share of things through JetBuy. It's a pretty cool experience.
Last one, and then we're going to transition.
Thank you very much. I'm kind of like newbie to this startup world. I've like just finished my school and ended my job, and thinking it's kind of like a golden age to start something with this AI, like coding and leverage everything. I wonder what your vision about like what future will look like with this, like, seems like it's also an AI boom. Everyone's building something, but who's gonna win or stand out? Or what's the future gonna look like?
Thank you. So the current environment of AI is scary to me. If everyone runs to the same direction, I'm like, how am I going to stand out there? AI is almost like oxygen. Everyone needs it. You have it. But it's not enough. So as an example, my last company, GamePlanner, which was a stealth company, TechCrunch literally said, Airbnb just bought this for a few $100 million, and we have no idea what they do. I'll give you just the framing of how I did it. Maybe that'll give you some idea. The trend, I always start with trends and triggers. I believe that the world is faced with complex, urgent problems. Climate change, hunger, poverty, water, divisiveness, many others. The trigger was the pandemic. This was the first time we got uncomfortable. One of them, a pandemic, showed that it could change our world and make it really uncomfortable. I said, I believe that the world is ready for a company who stands up and says, we have some solutions that can help solve some of these big global problems. So that was the first framing. So what I set out to do with GamePlanner was build tools, new tools to help humanity make better decisions. I said, people gravitate to the closest tool. If I say make a presentation, you think slides. If I say balance a budget, you think spreadsheet. If I say you have an important decision to make, or we have a decision to make together, what tool do you use? Nothing. There's nothing. So I said, we're going to make a game plan. We're going to game plan this decision together. And so we were building a new document format, a new tool, a PowerPoint of decision making that solved it. So what does that do? This is an example. I'm not saying this is what you should do, but there's a trend, there's a trigger. I think the world will be more ready to have help solving problems. There's a simplified statement, PowerPoint for decision making. There's a space. The whole world needs to have better decision making. Every family, every company, every startup, every government, every nonprofit. I like big things that can impact 1 billion people. And is there AI in it? Of course. But it's not an AI company. It's a decision making company. How many AI companies has the VC looked at, pitches this week? 1,000. He can't tell the difference. She can't tell the difference. You need to stand out, do something different, have your thesis, why is now the time? You know, I always run a test. We started out saying, here are some decision problems, 20 users, solve them using any method you can do available. phone a friend, use ChatGPT, use Google search. Whatever you would do, you have 15 minutes. Now try this prototype. Measure the quality of your decision. How many decisions can you make, whatever. So I always try to look for value that stands out in an area that has a completely different messaging. If everyone's running to agentic, MCP enabled, like my eye's starting to blur. I've heard 10,000 of those this week. I don't like that. I need to be in a separate space. So that's the best advice I can give to you. But if entrepreneurship is right for you, it's not for everyone. It's really the most rewarding thing that you can do in every level. You work with people you love, that you've hired, about an idea you care about and believe in. You buy a lottery ticket, because maybe you die, but you're paying yourself a decent salary to find out. And every once in a while you can exit positively and you get some money too. So, and hopefully it's about impact. You can touch billions of people. So, yeah, thank you.
That was great. Give a big hand for Adam.